Hi, welcome to the Israel First television program with myself, Martin Blackham, and with my wife, Nathalie Blackham. Thank you so much for joining us today, live from our studios in Jerusalem, bringing you news and interviews from the land of Israel and features Hebraic understanding. And in the news today, it says, in Israel's worst civilian disaster, 45 people were crushed to death. Dozens injured, many in critical condition following an incident at Lag BaOmer event on Mount Meron. More than 150 people were injured as ambulances, helicopters evacuated the victims. At least 44 people were crushed to death and more than 150 people hurt, including many in critical condition, in an incident after midnight Thursday this week at a that was last week. At a mass gathering to celebrate the Lag BaOmer holiday at Mount Meron, medics say. And this was a very serious disaster. It's the worst, as I said before, in Israel's history, civilian disaster. Israel's National Ambulance and Rescue Service, Magen David Adom, said 38 people had been killed at the scene, and its paramedics treated dozens of people, including 18 in a serious condition, 2 who were moderately hurt, and 80 people who were injured. All the wounded were evacuated to hospitals. The Ziv hospital said 6 of the wounded had died. Sadly, I believe another person has died as well. And the total death toll was now 45. The event is the worst peacetime tragedy in Israel's history, with more people killed than the 2010 Mount Carmel forest fire. There was a very serious forest fire in the Mount Carmel area, 2010, Natalie. Okay. We covered that in the past. A 24-year-old witness, identified only by his first name, Devere, told the army radio station that masses of people were pushed into the same corner. He said the first row of people fell down, and then a second row where he was standing also began to fall down from the pressure. I felt I was going to die, he said. The mobile phone service at the scene inexplicably crashed as people attempted to contact family, friends, and emergency services. Calls were coming out on Friday morning this is last week, for Israel to establish a commission of inquiry outside the National Police Force to probe what went wrong and led to the mass casualty events. Eyewitnesses blamed the police for locking the gatherers in closed-off areas and essentially creating the crowd that led to a crush. A policeman saw the crowd, but instead of opening an escape path for people, he threatened them with pepper spray. Deputy Mayor of Jerusalem, Yossi Daich, who was at the scene, told the Behedri Haradim website. And Natalie was able to visit. You were able to go to one of the families, and maybe you can give us an update.
Yes. I went to a Shiva on Tuesday with a friend.
Which is the mourning period in Israel.
That's it, yeah. To explain to you, when somebody dies, for the Jewish people, they have 7 days where the family stay at home and the people come to visit them. They are sitting on low chairs to show that they are mourning, and people are giving also. This was the first time, I mean, I've been to a few Shiva, but this was like a bit different because it was already, and you always learn different things, and it was very touching because you see they give also food to people who come, so you can bless the food and bless. I mean, you don't bless the food, funny enough, you bless God, and so more you give blessing on earth, more is bringing positive things. And I never realized that before, but suddenly I realized when they say thank you to God when they eat, even when during the day and they find something to eat, they will just stop and say, thank you, God, for what you are giving it to me. And they are eating it. And so for them, you see, is a way of blessing God. So it was very touching to go with my friend. It was in Mea Shearim. I've never been like inside in Mea, I mean, in that way for Shiva.
And that was the family of 2 boys.
Yeah, the family of 2 boys
who were in the Meron disaster,
Joseph,
killed.
David, and Moses Mordecai. One was 13, and the other one was 18, I think. And and it was very special to see them. There was some family also who were French, so I spoke a bit French with them, and it was very special. So I was on the side of the ladies, because usually you have one side for the men and one side for the ladies. So I went on the side of the ladies, and they were very strong, and they were saying, you know, we are praying now for Geula, which is the redemption. We have to be all united. There was also some people who knew these two boys who were working with them, and they came to speak to the mother to say how good, you know, the boys were. There was a little boy who was 13 who was learning, studying already in a yeshiva, and he was saying to his mom, you know, I'm learning and you can't learn, but this is so sad that you can't learn. And she said, no, it's okay, just learn and study. I'm so happy for you to study. Because he was saying how beautiful it is to really go more in the Torah and to learn things. And so it was really special to go there. And you can see the love that they have, and like the unity, like people are looking after each other. And one of the things was very touching. They were saying also pray the Psalms, and it's one of the things really that we felt together with all these things that's happening, is like praying the Psalms, but not only praying the Psalms, also studying. And I think I've told you a few times, and I'm reading the Psalms with this book. It's like in English on one side and Hebrew on the other side, but you have also a lot of commentaries. And like at the beginning of the Psalm, like you will have who wrote it, why was the circumstances. It's something that I always wanted to know in my life. You know, when I was younger and I was reading the Psalm, and I was like, when was it written? I want to know the background, you know, why a lot of them are written by David, and when was it? And like, funny enough, today, maybe I carry on speaking about it, because I wanted to speak to you about that today. So I will carry on. I was reading the Psalm 115, and sometimes the Psalms are big, so I take a few days to read it because I really want to study it. But sometimes it's short one, so you know, it depends. Sometimes I have to cut them because it's long and it takes time to study it. But I was looking this week at the Psalm 105, and this was very interesting. Again, I was telling you, you have all the story here, and they said this psalm was composed on the day King David bought the Holy Ark from the temporary quarters of the home of Obed Edom. And now, if you need to know, Obed Edom was in Kiryat Yearim, which is 2 kilometers away from where we live. And so it's amazing. And there is a big community, by the way, now who is built on that place. And so it was, you can read all the story in the Bible, but this psalm was done specifically by King David. If you remember the first time when they were bringing the ark, they didn't do the right way and somebody died. Because there is power, you know, in the ark. It wasn't just the ark, as we are saying. It was the ark of God with the covenant. The tablets were in it, and there is some manna also in it. So it's very, very special, and they have to know the right way how to bring it. So after this man died, they left it for a while, and this place was blessed, and King David have to say, okay, now we need to bring it back. And so this psalm was written at that time. And you know how we spoke so much with all the things that are happening right now. There was a blueprint given when when the Jewish people were coming out of Egypt to the first redemption. And so it's really a blueprint for the final redemption. And there is a lot of things. And the Psalms have so much to speak to us. And when you read commentaries, you dig and you find a lot of treasure. So this was written at that time when he was bringing the Holy Ark, okay? And it said, where it was installed with great ceremony and honor. So they speak about all of that. And also the Holy Ark have the law of God, you know, in it, the 2 tablets, and he really carried the God's presence. And so this is, you know, when we read Psalms, we are coming into God's presence. There is a power in the Word of God that is there, that is tangible. So when we read that, it's very important. So the thing that I wanted to bring you, because when I was reading, you know, always thinking about this blueprint of the Exodus from Egypt, and a lot of Psalms are speaking about that and give us more clues of the mighty acts of God. Because sometimes we say, oh, well, you know, they came out. No, no, no. That God was showing that He was the God of creation and that He had very specific way of doing His redemption. And also, if you look on Psalm 42, let me look at it. Psalm 40, sorry. So it's Psalm 105 and is verse 42, and that's it. It's written 43, sorry. And so he's speaking about how God was bringing them out of Egypt, and then he say, for he remember his holy promise to Abraham his servant.
Wow.
So God has done the redemption of the Jewish people in Egypt because he remembered his covenant with Abraham. And when you look in Hebrew, when it's like written holy promise, is written devar katsho. So his word, like we say holy promise because his word is a promise. But the word in Hebrew is devar, which is his word, and katsho is a holy word. So when God does a covenant, is something very serious, and because of his covenant, he came and rescued them. So we need to think that now there is a redemption for the world. We are into this time, and that God, because of his covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and with humanity, he said, now I'm coming to bring this final redemption, the Geula. And so for me, it was very touching going back to this Shiva, going with the people. They were saying, now we need to pray even more for the redemption because we can see that there is something happening. There is turmoil. There is like, you know, a lady in labor. There is painful events that happening. And so we really need to strengthen each other. Like a man will help his wife when she's having a baby, or the midwife, and telling her when she has to push and when she has to do things. So it's like there is a work who is being done. There is some pain, but it's like the baby is going to be born. The redemption, the era of redemption is coming. And so it's very important that we work with God. Like when you have a baby, you work with the contraction. So we need to work with this contraction, that the baby will come safe and redemption will come fully and soon.
And it was a privilege for us to be able to attend the morning time with the Jewish people, and Nathalie was there on your behalf as well.
Exactly.
She's able to stand with them with this tragedy at Meron. And it's amazing that they are looking positively out of all this tragedy at the future redemption, the Geula. Now, one of the serious things that is happening in Israel is that the FDA, which is the American Drug Administration, is looking to agree an emergency use, I should say, it's not authorized, use of Israel's experimental injectable or vaccine, allegedly, for children aged 12 to 15 within a week, despite the fact that injecting a child with an experimental vaccine is madness. They just don't need it. Israel has regrettably said they will launch the program as soon as the United States authorities give emergency permission. It's not authorized. The US Food and Drug Administration is expected to give this emergency use of this injectable by next week, according to a federal official and a person familiar with this process. Israeli health officials have said that they will unbelievably launch a vaccination drive for teens in that age group as soon as United States authorities approve the emergency use of the injectable, this alleged vaccine, despite the fact that children don't need it, and more importantly, that it could have an adverse effect on their health. Considering the fact that children are at virtually zero risk of contracting COVID, it would be madness to give them an unlicensed, emergency, unapproved experimental vaccine of which not one single person on this planet has any idea of the consequences, because there is no data to tell us. Meanwhile, in Israel, 100 medical doctors have said to the government, do not use COVID-19 vaccine on children. Some 100 medical professionals in the country have expressed opposition to vaccinating children with this experimental so-called vaccine in a letter to the health authority. Now, yesterday there was a big rally was held, a prayer rally in Jerusalem, and we were able to go on your behalf to cover that, Natalie and myself, as former Knesset candidate Ilana, Rachel, Daniel and the Common Denominator organization held the rally outside the old city walls, bringing together people of all faiths in prayer against the plan to coerce Israelis into having this experimental injection used on their children, despite the fact that children are not at a risk from COVID-19. So they had this rally to pray because of such a serious situation. Now, why did they have the rally, Natalie? One of the interesting things is that, or terrible parts of Jerusalem's history, was the sacrifice of children in an area known as the Hinnom Valley. And they were able to have the meeting, the prayer rally, which was broadcast all over the world, from just across from the Hinnom Valley, where this sacrifice to Molech took place.
Which was done by one of the king of Israel, which was the one who lasted the longest. She was telling Ilana.
Right.
Over there.
Now, this is what Ilana went on to say, who was speaking there. She said, unfortunately, Prime Minister Netanyahu and the Israeli government are worshipping a new idol, because they were doing it to worship an idol, Natalie, when they did the child sacrifice. And the Israeli government are now worshipping the new idol. And what is that? The pharmaceutical companies, allowing them free reign in the largest and most dangerous human medical experiment in history. They now move from sacrificing our children to Molech to these idols, said Ilana Daniel of the Common Denominator. The rally was broadcast to viewers, as I've said, from around the world who share in this concern. It took place outside the city walls on the grass between the Jaffa Gate and Zion Gate. The Israeli government, which is responsible for tracking the safety of the experimental injection, have claimed that they do not know how many people have died after receiving the experimental COVID vaccine from Pfizer. However, the United States-based Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System, VAERS, has logged, unbelievably, Natalie, 3,544 deaths, just that we know about, occurring after the administration of the vaccine. Of increased concern is the Harvard Pilgrim College study that found less than 1% of adverse reactions are ever reported through VAERS, indicating that the number of adverse events is actually a lot higher. Ilana, Rachel, Daniel, in advance of the rally, said on Wednesday, the people of the world come together of different backgrounds, which was another amazing thing. Mm-hmm. It wasn't just the Jewish people, but it was also people of different faiths in Israel, from a Christian background as well.
From Israel, but like for all the people around the world. Yeah.
On the common ground of the risk to our future, our children's health and well-being, to say to the Israeli government that it's enough, Dayenu. We will not sacrifice our children today on any altar. Israel's own Ministry of Health has reported dozens of cases of heart muscle inflammation in young people that is likely connected to the shot. What's more, the experimental vaccine is still in its clinical stage, and it's only authorized under emergency use. It's not authorized at all. Everybody's saying it's authorized. It's not. It's just for emergency use. And Ilana finishes by saying, we're gathering in prayer to call on God to intervene in this matter, which is amazing that they are, such is the serious state
Yes.
that we are in as a nation, Israel is in, that the only solution is a prayer rally to call on God for a solution now.
And it was very touching, wasn't it? Because there was people, so she was speaking, and then there was people giving some like verses and things that they want to say on the microphone. So it was open to everybody, and it was very touching to see the people standing.
Yeah, they were praying. We were the rally was for praying different scriptures from the Bible, which were read out separately, and yeah, it was very, very moving to be able to be there on your behalf.
Exactly.
to cover this rally.
Exactly. And you know, people were saying, oh, how many people were there? Like in Jerusalem, we were about 50, 60. But like you have to think that there was like 1,000 online. And again, it's like, you know, Jerusalem is the heart of the world. And God sees, God listens all the time. So we could really feel that we were standing there, and our God, our Creator, is there, listen to what's happening, and he can see it, who is standing.
Right. And you know that the important thing we need to keep focusing on is the scripture from Matthew 24:37-39. Which says, but as in the days of Noah, so shall it be at the coming of Messiah. And we asked this question before, well, how was it in the days of Noah? The earth was corrupt. What does that corrupt mean? The corruption, there was something wrong in God's sight. The earth was also filled with violence. And God saw the earth, and behold, it was corrupt. For all flesh had corrupted. And we talked about this, that there was a problem with the seed. The seed was corrupted. We've talked about GMO, the genetic modified food being corrupted. And of course, we know that these new vaccines all have this, are all playing with the DNA somehow. Maybe they're not changing in the way of a DNA modified thing, but the mRNA is doing things inside the body. So this is very, very serious. This change of the seed,
because it's changing the image of God. Like God
Right.
has made us in such an amazing way, and like, because I was thinking also, it makes us think so much, you know, with all the thing that's happening, and it's like He's going to show us really the foundation. And you know, again, I was thinking about all these astronauts going away, and like Israel is doing things again. I was reading in the news. And I was like, but you know what? Oh, suddenly it dawned on to me. God said, you have to rule here on earth. You have to be kind with each other. You have to multiply. And again, they are saying like there is too many people on earth. This is not true. God said multiply. He said He will
it's
provide.
the opposite actually.
Yes.
They're saying there's too many
Yes.
people, and God is saying multiply. So who's getting this wrong? Is it the people? Is it these humanistic people who think they're in charge, or is it God in the scripture who said, go forth and multiply? That was His command, and it hasn't changed. It's right up to the present day.
And you know, like also for the astronaut, they go, and you know, when you know the way how to live, is like totally unnatural how they live when they are in the moon or when they go to Mars. And so now, again, it makes me thinking, God has made our body to really live on earth. We have the right oxygen, you know, our genetic, how He make us is like we can fight the viruses. I mean, how He make us is like so amazing, and we can live on the moon. You can't procreate over there. You know, there is a lot of things. So why are we trying to go over there when God say, I want you here to rule here? And have we been able to rule properly,
But it's
to
a
be
bit-
kind with each other, that God is a kind God?
It's a bit like the Tower of Babel.
Yes.
This
to
space
go up.
exploration is
Yeah.
going up into the heavens,
I know.
and God never said that. He never said to build the Tower of Babel, and He never said to go up to the heavens. He said to rule on the earth. That was our command. And, it says, your kingdom come on earth as it is in heaven.
I know, not
So-
on the moon.
So
May
it's
your kingdom come on the moon. No, it's
Right.
not. We are trying to push the boundaries, and it's not right.
And so, coming back to this thing about the days of Noah, there was a problem because the seed line had been interfered with. The interruption of the God DNA. We've talked about this before, but it's a very important thing for you to grasp hold of. Noah and his family and the pure animals had a pure gene pool and have not been corrupted. That was the corruption that God was talking about, the corruption of the genes, the seed. And it's interesting because in Genesis 3:15, God says, I will put enmity or hostility between you and the woman, and between what? Your seed and her seed. So we know that there is going to be like a battle between the seed. And, in Genesis 6:4, it says there were giants on the earth in those days. There's something that happened, something wrong. And also afterwards, when the sons of God came to the daughters of men and they bore children to them. So, there's a serious issue of an interference with the seed in the gene pool. Well, we've run out of time. We're going to have to come back to this, and we'll do every effort to come and talk to you again about this next week. Thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget you can email us at info@israelfirst.org. We love to receive your emails. You can visit the website. There's a lot more information at www.israelfirst.org, including a daily news item on the media page. And remember, we're the program that looks at the land, the people, and the language.